And so I arrive, like a sudden windstorm at a kindergarten picnic. You you think your presence here is worthy of my attention? Ah! Oh, come now. Surely someone of your importance is capable of appreciating a little showmanship, no? Ah! I have no interest in your pathetic attempts at humor. Your arrogance is unfounded. Oh my, how crude, how crude. You know, I was hoping there would be a little more creativity from someone of your position, no? You're just a cowardly pest, hiding behind your tricks and delusions. Do you really think you can stand against me? Oh, my, you truly lack finesse in your combat style. You rely only on raw strength. Such a pity. You're a fool to underestimate me. Oh, my dearest anti-monitor. You're only proving my point, you know. Here rely, completely on brute force, completely lacking finesse, precision, and most importantly, strategy. Your trickery is futile, weakling. I could erase you with the slightest blink. Oh, how amusing. Such boasting and arrogance from the both of you. Truly a delightful sight to behold. Oh, my dear Cheddar, you're absolutely right. It's quite amusing, isn't it? Two beings so powerful, yet so lacking in refinement. This bickering is tiresome. It lacks purpose. You seek to prove domination over the other. The creature of chaos with a tongue of boredom. So, you find our little display tiresome, do you? Pray tell. And what would you prefer then, almighty void Termina? Cease this pointless banter and engage in something meaningful. This is merely the squabbling of petulant children. Oh, the great Void Termina, dispenser of orders and critic of childish squabbles. How profound. Even you, Black Hat, join in with your sarcastic commentary. Your mockery is hardly original, fiend. And here we have the creature of chaos, Void Domina, lecturing us on what's meaningful. Oh, the irony. Ooh. In the King in Black, with his own twisted sense of irony, has decided to join the chat. Such wit, such cunning. Oh, how terrified I am. Ah, the great Void Terminator, here to lecture us on meaningful engagement, and let's not forget our dear King's delightful irony. Such a colorful gathering of power and sarcasm. Truly inspiring. Oh my, how delightful! The King of Chaos has graced us with his inspired commentary! Yes! What a delightful little gathering this is indeed! A delightful little gathering? Hardly. More like a room full of arrogant beings, too busy exchanging quips to accomplish anything remotely meaningful. Oh, the being of light, Gleam, has decided to join the conversation. How surprising! Your disappointment is truly heartwarming. Why, my dear Galeem, if you find us to be so tiresome and lacking in purpose, perhaps you'd rather we all sit in quiet contemplation instead. Ah, the ever entertaining Dementia, always the one to add his own little twist to the scene. Such a charming nuisance. Silence! Your incessant banter serves no purpose. It is a pointless waste of time. I have better things to do than engage in this childish nonsense. Better things to do, you say? Do share! Oh, great and powerful anti-monitor. Oh, please educate us on your so busy schedule of destroying entire universes. You are all fools, squandering your power with pointless arguments. My purpose is far greater than you can comprehend. When I destroy universes, it is all part of my grand design. You are nothing compared to my power. Your existence is a mere irritant. Your grand design, anti-monitor, it's nothing but mindless destruction. There's no purpose, no plan, just endless annihilation. Oh, and let's not forget Vitamina, the voice of moral righteousness in the room. Your concern for purpose and plans is How shall I put it? Adorable. Oh, adorable? Your mockery is quite rich, Lord English, coming from someone whose entire existence seems to revolve around causing chaos and destruction. But of course, purpose and plans are beneath you, aren't they? Oh, how touching! For beings of light and dark debating purposes and plans, as if either of you has a moral high ground here. Indeed, the arguments about morality are quite entertaining, as if we, beings of destruction and chaos, have any interest in such trivial concerns. Ah, yes, the moral debates are so enlightening because we, as the epitome of wickedness, clearly care about the ethical implications of our actions. Oh, Black Hat, your sarcasm is just delightful. Yes, because we're all here to discuss ethics and morality, aren't we? Oh my, Jack, your grasp of sarcasm is truly something to behold. Yes, because morality and ethics are our primary concern here. That's why we all came together in this little chat room to discuss for greater good. Indeed, Dementia. And here I find we all just gathered here for the sheer joy of bickering and moral grandstanding. Well, clearly our primary objective here is to discuss the virtues and nuances of morality, while casually obliterating entire universes. How foolish of me to forget! We should start more book club after this meeting. We could discuss the finer points of righteousness as we decimate civilizations. Oh, a moral book club. What a simply brilliant idea. We certainly would want our wanton destruction to be devoid of intellectual conversation. Oh, yes, let's all gather around, discuss philosophy, and then go out and obliterate some plants together. It will be a delightful bonding experience. Alright, Jack, you truly have a right of words. The delightful bonding experience indeed. Nothing brings a group of 11 beings together quite like a casual chat about philosophy, followed by a bit of universe destroying mayhem. Oh, it truly is a splendid idea, Black Hat. After all, why is destruction without some stimulating intellectual banter? We can exchange ideas on how to effectively and efficiently obliterate civilizations while simultaneously discussing moral dilemmas. How delightful! Indeed, Dementia, because nothing says bonding time quite like a leisurely discussion on the effects of universal annihilation sprinkled with a touch of irony and sarcasm. How endearing! This is pointless. You all revel in your own arrogance and mockery, but feel no substance beneath your words. Your petty banter only serves to waste my time. Your irritation is evident, Antimonitor, yet you contribute nothing substantial yourself. Your pursuit of destruction is devoid of any real purpose. The mighty void termini, yet again, for force of reason in this room, as if any of us need a purpose beyond wreaking havoc and causing chaos. Oh, Lord English, you're absolutely right. Who needs purpose when we can just exist for the sheer joy of causing endless suffering and destruction? Such a noble ambition. Indeed, Anna Jack, we should all strive to live up to your high standards. Forget purpose, ambition, or any sense of meaning. Just chaos and destruction. That's the ideal way to exist. Lord Dracon, your scathing sarcasm is truly a joy to behold, because we all know that meaningless destruction is the pinnacle of existence, right? Oh, but of course no. How can we possibly strive for anything beyond wanton destruction and chaos? It's not like there's anything worthwhile or meaningful in this vast multiverse. Let's just stick to the tried and true formula of causing misery and despair. Oh, dear Black Hat, your words cut me to the core. There's nothing more fulfilling than causing misery and despair. How could we be so foolish as to seek anything beyond that? Forgive us for entertaining any notion of purpose or meaning. Oh, Dementia, how could we forget the ultimate goal in life to spread misery and despair? Yes, let's throw purpose and meaningfulness out the window and embrace a world of only darkness. What a delightful utopia that would be. Oh, but of course, Galeem. How foolish of us to not immediately recognize the sheer brilliance in your reasoning. I mean, who needs things like hope or positive change when we can just revel in despair and destruction? Such a lovely future that paints. Oh yes, how could we possibly overlook such a splendid utopia? Who needs hope, light, or anything even remotely resembling positivity? No, despair and destruction are the true path to enlightenment. Me should start a movement. Maybe a little support group. Maybe we can call ourselves the Despair Dwellers or the Misery Manipulators. Ha! Ha ha ha. Oh, Lord English, your ideas are truly revolutionary. We should start a committee. We can plan our next move over a cup of despair-induced coffee, discuss new ways to spread misery, and perhaps even sing sad songs. You know, really get in touch with our inner misery manipulators. What a delightful, hopeless future. A despair-induced coffee committee, you say? Sounds like a splendid idea. We can exchange tips and tricks, share stories of despair and destruction, and maybe even have a misery match either every Friday. It'll be a true gathering of dark hearts and malevolent minds. Ah, but of course, Black Hat. We can't forget the importance of the misery match. It'll be the highlight of the week, a chance to witness truly dark and malevolent beings showcasing their despair-inducing skills. I can already see the trophies now. Perhaps a dark, soulless trophy shaped like a tear. Truly a fitting symbol for our gathering of despair. Oh, a tear-shaped trophy is a brilliant idea. What's up there? We could have an entire gallery of despair-themed artifacts. Maybe even hold a yearly Despair Award ceremony. Because truly nothing says accomplishment like being recognized for spreading misery. Oh, yes, for Despair Awards. We'll have categories like Most Misery Caused, Most Despair Reducing Speech, and, well, of course, Best Minion of Despair. It'll be a dark and despairing celebration fit for a merry band of misery manipulators. Oh, yeah. Oh, the Despair Awards. I love it. We'll have a red carpet and everything. And let's not forget the after party, where we can all gather and relish in our despair-inducing achievements. Maybe you should make it a mandatory rule that everyone has to wear black and have a permanent frown on their face. Just to stay in character, you know. A despair themed party, you say? How delightful! Perhaps we should have despair themed activities as well. Maybe a game like Misery Charades or Despair Bingo. We could even have a prize for the one who comes up with the darkest and most desolate punchline. Oh boy, Terminal, you're truly outdone yourself with these suggestions. Despair Bingo is an excellent idea. We should have despair themed bingo cards where scares like cause a civil war, destroy an entire city, and corrupt a noble soul. It will be a delightfully dark and hopeless game. Oh, Lord Drakon, that's a fantastic idea. And of course, the winner of Despair Bingo will receive the ultimate despair-inducing prize, like a Despair Medal or a Soul Scepter. And we'll make sure to have despair-laden food and drinks like misery muffins and existential crisis espresso. Ah, despair-themed food and drinks. Sounds delightful. We could have hopeless hamburgers, depressing donuts, and morning milkshakes. It'll be a perfectly bleak and morose feast to complement our despairing activities. Ah, those stacks sound delightfully depressing, Blackheart. And let's not forget the entertainment. Perhaps we can have a doomed dance off or a hopeless talent show. Gotta keep up with the despair quota, you know. Oh, for doomed dance off and hopeless talent show. Perfect entertainment for a gathering. I can already picture for despair filled performances. Maybe we should have a despair karaoke too, where we can sing all melancholic songs in complete for the saddest rendition. Oh, a despair karaoke? That sounds splendid. And maybe we can have a misery anthem battle and a heartbreak harmonies competition. Imagine the utterly soulful sounds that will fill the air. Truly a delightfully bleak atmosphere to accompany our despair filled activities. And let's not forget the highlight of the evening. Darkest Soul Confession. We'll hold it in a dimly lit corner, and each and every single one of us can share our most despairing secrets and regrets. It will be the perfect opportunity to revel in each other's misery. Oh! Ah! Oh, yes, the Darkest Soul Confession will surely be a highlight. We can sit in a circle of darkness and take turns confessing our most despair inducing sins. It'll be a delightful chance to unveil our inner demons and revel in each other's suffering. What a gloriously bleak gathering this will be. Oh, for darkest soul confession, such a fitting way to end the evening. We'll sit in a circle, cloaked in shadows, and take turns revealing our most despair-inducing secrets and regrets. It will be a chance to truly embrace our darkest selves and relish in each other's suffering. This gathering will be a testament to our dedication to despair and misery. Ah, yes, a darkest soul confession will certainly be the epitome of despair. We'll each reveal our most heartbreaking mistakes and the moments that shattered our souls. It'll be a perfect morose conclusion to our gathering, a true embracing of despair and pain. And perhaps we could even add a little twist to the darkest soul confession. We can make it a contest wherever one of the most despair-inducing secret wins a despair crown. For the night, it'll be an extra incentive to share those darkest and most miserable memories. Oh, the Spear Crown! What a splendid idea, Demenjo! We'll make it out of the bleakest, most soulful materials we can find, and whoever confesses the most despair-inducing secret shall wear it with twisted pride. What a wonderfully masochistic way to award the true expert of misery among us. And to make it even more despair, London, we can have to wear the despair crown for not only the rest of the evening, but for all future meetings as well. That way, they'll be a walking symbol of despair, a constant reminder of the depths of our misery. Yes, wearing the despair crown for future meetings will ensure that the winner is always a symbol of despair among us. It'll be a constant reminder of their misery, a badge of honor for the soul that has truly embraced the darkest depths of despair. And of course, those who don't win the despair crown won't be spared either. We can have them wear the despair badge, a smaller but equally despair-inducing token of their failure to claim the crown. Oh, the despair badge, a perfect way to make sure everyone feels despair, whether they win or lose. We can make it out of the most hopeless, darkest materials filled with symbols of failure and defeat. Whoever wears it will be a walking reminder of their own despair and misery, a constant presence of their own inadequacy. How perfectly dark and delightful. And let's not forget to infuse the despair badge with a touch of magic so it becomes a constant source of despair and hopelessness for its wearer. It will be as if the despair infested amulet is feeding on their anger, striving itself to further drive them into despair. What a deliciously dark and hopeless accessory! Ah, despair badge that feeds on despair. How fitting. Perhaps we should also enchant so that it whispers dark and hopeless thoughts to its wearer, reminding them of all their failures and regrets, and feeling their despair every waking moment. What a delightfully cruel and despair-inducing addition to our little gathering. That's an excellent idea, Dementia. For despair badge should not only feed on despair, but also project a constant, sinister influence upon its wearer. It should whisper dark and hopeless thoughts in their mind, constantly reminding them of their failures and losses, and drawing them in despair. It will be a perfectly delightful amulet designed to crush the spirits of those who wear it. And let's also make sure that despair badge's appearances as despair-inducing as its effects. Perhaps it can be a jagged, thorny, and adorned with symbols of despair and defeat. It should almost feel like a curse, a constant reminder of one's hopelessness and misery. A perfect representation of the despair we all delight in. Inner you've outdone yourself again. A despair badge that's not only a chance to affect his wearer of misery, but also visually represents despair. How delightful. Perhaps you shall also add a spell, so that once the amulet is put on, it can never be removed, unless the wearer has the strength to break free from the despair. It will ensure the despair shall never leave. Oh, let's make sure there's no escape from the despair badge's grip. Let's infuse it with a spell that makes it nearly impossible to remove, forcing the wearer to carry the weight of despair on their shoulders at all times. It will be a constant reminder of their helplessness and hopelessness, a symbol of their own misery. How fitting for our delightful gathering. Oh, the despair badge indeed sounds like a delightful device. But may I add something a little more? How about we make it so that the despair, the badge, projects upon its wearer increases exponentially with every passing second. It would be a constant torment, a relentless reminder of how the despair inside us will never subside. How wonderfully despairing. Oh, Geraldoma, your suggestion is most fitting. A despair badge not only feeds on despair but also intensifies it with every passing moment. Forever's despair would be a never-ending cycle, a constant, deepening nightmare that they can't escape. How beautifully despair-inducing. What a delightful idea, Anna Jack. Let's also infuse the despair badge with a mind of its own, so that it not only feeds on despair but actively seek out more despair to intensify the rarest misery. It will be a relentless, despair-driven entity that constantly feeds on the despair of its wearer, driving him further and further into the bleak depths of despair. How perfectly despair-inducing. Oh, the mantra your suggestion is truly a stroke of dark brilliance. How fitting it would be for the despair badge to, well, not be, not just be a living despair-feasting entity. Not only will it feed on its rarest despair, but actively seek out more despair, amplifying the misery and torment of its bearer with every passing moment. It will be a dreadfully delightful addition to our despairing accessories. Despair Seeking Despair Badge, a truly fitting accessory for a gathering of darkness. Perhaps we should also make it so that the badge feeds not only on the despair of its wearer, but also on the despair of those around them. That way it'll be a constant source of despair for all who cross its path. How perfectly and darkly fascinating. Oh, that's quite a wonderful idea, Black Cat. But let's make it even more despair driven. Not only will the badge seek despair from its wearer and those nearby, but let's also make it able to create despair in others. It can project despair-inducing illusions or infect the minds of those nearby with despair-filled thoughts, ensuring that despair will spread like wildfire everywhere it goes. How exquisitely despairing. Oh, Doma, you've outdone yourself once again. A despair badge not only feeds on despair, but can also spread like a plague. It could infect the minds of those around with despair, twisted illusions, or whispers of despair, driving them to despair of their own. It would be a walking vortex of despair, a symbol of our dedication to misery and despair. How wicked and delightful! Ah, despair spreading despair badge. Truly exquisite. But let's take it further. How about we make it so that the despair badge can not only spread despair to those nearby, but also to those far away? It can project despair-filled visions across continents, infecting souls with despair wherever it can reach. How absolutely, positively delightful. Oh, Kalim, your idea is quite brilliant, but let's make it even more insidious. What if we made the despair badge capable of infecting not only individuals with despair, but also entire societies? It can spread despair on a global scale, causing chaos and destruction wherever it goes. Truly a weapon of despair, fit for the scattering of darkness. How splendid! Oh, Anti-Monitor, your proposal is truly malevolent. And to make it even more despair-driven, let's infuse it with self-replicating properties. Not only could it affect individuals and societies, it can also spread itself, creating new despair patches to continue the cycle of despair. It would be a relentless force of despair, a truly devastating weapon. Ah, Doma, your suggestion is perfectly despair-inducing. Let's also make it so that the despair badge can adapt and evolve in response to the despair it encounters. It would become a self-perpetuating force of despair, a constantly mutating menace that would grow strong with every despairing soul it infects. How utterly and exquisitely hopeless. Ah, Black Hat, your idea is truly despairfully twisted. Then to further enhance its destructive potential, let's make the despair badge indestructible. No matter how much one tries to destroy him, it would always come back stronger and more despair inducing than ever before. It would become a truly despairing force, an ever present symbol of despair and hopelessness. How perfectly abysmal. Ah, Dementia, your suggestion is delightfully despairing. But let's take it further, shall we? Let's make the despair badge not only indestructible, but also immune to any and all forms of removal, magical or physical. No matter how hard someone tries to rid themselves of its despair-driven influence, it would cling to them like a shadow, a relentless reminder of despair. How absolutely miserable. Anna Jack, your idea is quite fitting for such a despair-inducing accessory. However, let's not forget to make the despair badge untraceable. Not only would it be impossible to remove, but it would also be impossible to track or locate. It would be a constant, unseen presence of despair, a mysterious entity that would haunt its victims with its invisible, yet tangible influence. How delightfully dark. Oh, Duma, your suggestion of making the despair badge untraceable is quite fitting. But let's further enhance it with despair-driven features. What if we infused it with a touch of despair-fueled telepathy? It would be able to read its rarest dark thoughts and desires, using them to fuel its despair-inducing powers and further corrupt its victim's mind. How wonderfully despairing! Lord English, your idea of imbuing the despair badge with despair-driven telepathy is quite sinister. However, let's make it so that the badge is able to not only read the wearer's darkest thoughts or desires, but also project them to others. It would create a symphony of despair, broadcasting the victim's pain and suffering to those around them, further amplifying their despair and hopelessness. How miserably delightful. Oh, Placat, your suggestion of the despair badge projecting the wearer's darkest thoughts and desires to others is most suitable. But let's take it a step further. What if the despair badge can also induce hallucinations, making its victims see and hear things that aren't truly there? Things that would further amplify their despair. How ugly and hopelessly malevolent. Shadow your idea of the despair badge inducing hallucinations? It's truly malevolent. However, let's make it so that the hallucinations aren't just random but specifically tailored to the victim's greatest fears and phobias. It would make the despair even more personal and intense, hitting the victim with their most vulnerable points. How cruelly delightful. I have another suggestion. Let's make it so that the despair badge is able to manipulate dreams wherever the wearer sleeps, and the badge will invade their dreams and transform them into their nightmarish landscapes of despair. It would make a sleep a source of despair, a prison of endless misery, and hopelessly cruel. Oh, Black Cat, your suggestion of the despair badge invading its wearer's dreams is cruelly delightful, however. Let's even make it more despair-inducing. What if the despair for your nightmares are not just one-time torment, but a permanent curse that returns to the dreams of the wearer every night? It would be a relentless invasion of despair, a never-ending source of pain and darkness. How hopelessly diabolical. When Blackheart, the ideas are absolutely fitting for the despair badge, but let's see even more despair-inducing. All the despair-fueled nightmares are not just torment and sleep, but also invade the wearer's waking hours, causing them to hear whispers and despair and see fleeting glimpses of despair-inducing visuals at random moments. It would be a relentless assault of despair and constant reminder of powerlessness. Endlessly hopeless. On top of that, let's also make it so that the despair batch feeds off the worst fusion insecurities. It can dig deep into psyche and pull out their worst fears and doubts, using them to intensify the despair and hopelessness that they feel. It would be a personalized and endless source of despair, fueling their wearer's own insecurities and making them feel like they are drowning in a sea of hopelessness. How perfectly and eternally abysmal. Oh, Lord English, your addition to the despair badge's abilities is most deliciously despairing. Now let's take a step further. What if the despair badge were to manipulate the perception of the reality itself? It could distort their senses, making them see and hear things that are not truly real, forever feeling their despair and hopelessness. How perfectly and hopelessly maddening. Hi, Jack, you suggest that the despair badge manipulating reality is quite fitting. But let's make it so that it not only distorts the wearer's perception of reality, but alters their memories. It can make them remember events in a despair-inducing manner, filling their past with pain and suffering. How wickedly and hopelessly devastating. Lord English and Jack, your suggestions are truly despair-driven excellence. Let's take it to the absolute limit. What if the despair badge gained a level of sentience, allowing it to learn and adapt to the despair of its wearer over time? It would become a living embodiment of despair itself, constantly evolving force of endless torment. How early and eternally abhorrent. And there's one more thing we must add to the despair badge's repertoire. Let's make it so that the despair it generates is not just psychological torment, but also a physical one. The despair it inflicts also manifests as real physical pain and discomfort, making the wearer's existence a constant, relentless hell. That way, the despair will be a part of their very being, a permanent reminder of their hopelessness. How early and beautifully dreadful. Oh, Black Hat. The idea of making the despair badges despair manifest as physical pain is absolutely dreadful. But let's make it even more agonizing. What if the despair-driven pain is not just constant ache, but periodic bouts of excruciating torment? It would make the wearer's existence a roller coaster of despair, and never-ending ride of misery and suffering. How perfectly and catastrophically hopeless. Jaredoma, you have an uncanny talent for handling layers of despair, but let's not stop there. What if the despair badge also had the power to manipulate the rarest perception of time? It can make every second feel like an eternity and every minute unbearable torment, further increasing the despair and hopelessness. How perfectly abysmal and unending. Well, Blackhead, Geratoma, you truly outdone yourself with your relentless possession of despair-driven ideas, but it had one last layer to the despair-driven temporal manipulation. If the despair bonds could alter not just the rarest perception of time, but the very fabric of time itself, it can bring time to its will, creating never-ending loops of despair and hopelessness, hopelessly and endlessly vile. Oh, meantime, the idea of the despair about altering the fabric of time itself is perfectly despair-inducing. But let's make it even more unbearable. Well, if the despair bots could also manipulate the laws of probability, making bad luck fall over wherever they go. It would ensure that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. A constant source of despair and misfortune. How unutterably and monstrously dire. Lord English and Anti-Monitor. Your further additions to the despair badge give me chills in a deliciously despairing way. But let's go one step further. What if the despair badge had the power to create infinite duplicates of itself, each one carrying the same despair-driven abilities as the original? For despair would be endless, inescapable, and omnipresent. How ugly and horrifically beautiful. Yeah! Oh, Black Cat, your idea of creating infinite duplicates of despair is absolutely brilliant, but let's push it even further. What if the despair badge can not only create duplicates of itself and infect others? I know it touches in the vessel of despair themselves. It would turn every person into a potential source of despair, a never-ending cycle of misery and gloom. How perfectly and unfathomably bleak. John, only your addition to despair badge's ability to infect others and turn them into vessels of spheres that stroke absolute genius. But let's take it one step further, shall we? What if the despair badge had the power to infect not just people, but also beings and objects? It could turn every element, everything in existence into a potential source of despair. The despair would be everywhere and everything. How hopelessly and eternally malevolent. Oh, Blackheart and Geratoma, your despair-driven brainstorming is exquisite, but let's further add its despair-inducing features. What if the despair badge had the power to manifest into physical beings, living embodiment of despair? It could torment its victims not just psychologically but physically as well. Picture of despair-driven horrors that it can manifest as. Lord English, your suggestion of the despair badge manifesting as physical being is truly a despair-driven brilliance. But let's bring it to a whole new level, shall we? How about the despair badge can manifest around its victims' minds, creating a living hellscape of despair and torment within their own thoughts and memories? The despair would be personalized, tailored specifically to the victim's darkest and fears and regrets. How perfectly and hopelessly dreadful. Oh, Black Cat and Lord English. Despair-driven additions have been sheer perfection, but let's take it up a notch, shall we? How about the despair badge not only invades the wearer's dreams and feeds on their despair, but also invade their deepest thoughts and emotions, manipulating them to feed even more despair. Trust the victim's very identity and sense of self, making them question who they truly are. How utterly unyieldingly wretched. Jack, your idea of the despair badge invading its wearer's mind and manipulating their deepest thoughts and emotions is a stroke of pure despairing genius. Let's take it even further, shall we? While the despair badge had the power to feed on not just despair but any negative emotion. It could thrive on anger, fear, sadness, and even hatred itself, making it virtually unstoppable. Oh, hopelessly and eternally malignant. Black-hearted and Jack, your despair-driven ideas to enhance the despair badge's abilities are truly twisted. But let's push the bounds of despair even further, shall we? Love the despair badge could not only feed on despair and negative emotions, but also turn them into physical manifestations. It could despair-driven monsters and creatures, all unleashing them upon the world. How beautifully and grotesquely horrifying. Lord English and Jackie ideas make me shiver and dread, but let's delve deep into the pit of despair, shall we? What the despair bash had the power to consume not just despair or negative emotions, but also hope and positivity itself. It could devour every flicker of light, leaving only a world engulfed in darkness and endless, crushing despair. Black Hound, Lord English, your contributions of to this unholy creation are absolutely delightful. But now, let's unleash the full potential of the despair badge, shall we? What if the despair badge could not only feed on despair and negativity, but have the power to corrupt and trust hope and positivity? It could transform joy into anguish, hope into despair, and love into hate. Jagged final twist truly culminates the despair badge's deepest despair-driven abilities. But let's take it to the absolute darkest and most malevolent possibility. What if the despair badge had the power to absorb the very essence of hope and positivity within the wearer's soul, leaving them a hollow shell of despair? Oh, Lord English and Blackhat, your talk is the most malevolent possibility. It's the perfect conclusion to this despair-driven spectacle. Jack, Blackheart, there's no denying the despair badge has to become the embodiment of despair itself. The potential for despair it holds is truly unmatched. This despair-driven creation is a masterpiece of malevolence. Lord English and Jack, our despair-driven creation is nothing short of a symphony of misery. The chaos, the suffering, the hopelessness it will unleash. It's beautiful. Oh, Lord English, Black Hat. The despair-driven legacy of the despair badge is truly our magnum opus.
It's a symphony of chaos and suffering, a testament to the power and despair. Let it unleash its dark reign upon the world, consuming hope and joy, the innocence in its malevolent lake, that despair it instills will be legendary.